"I don't have money. Can I fix your engine?" begged little girl to billionaire CEO. The city was alive with the constant hum of traffic, neon signs flickering against the night sky, and people rushing about, each absorbed in their own worries. Among them walked a little girl, her clothes torn, her hair messy, her face streaked with dust. She couldn't have been older than 10, yet her eyes carried the weight of struggles that most adults would never comprehend. Hunger gnawed at her belly, and exhaustion made every step heavier, but she pressed on. Her world had collapsed months ago. Her father, once a hard-working mechanic, had fallen gravely ill. Her mother worked tirelessly, but what little she earned could barely keep food on the table. Bills piled high, medicine became unaffordable, and school was nothing but a fading dream. Each day was a fight for survival. On this particular evening, fate guided her toward a parking lot, where a luxury car stood gleaming beneath the dim streetlight. The machine was exquisite, spotless, and radiating wealth. Its owner, a tall man in an immaculate suit, stood beside it with a frustrated expression. The car's hood was up, and despite his wealth, he looked utterly helpless. The girl's small heart pounded. She recognized him instantly, a man whose face had graced television screens, magazines, and billboards. He was a billionaire CEO, famous for his ruthless business acumen, celebrated for his unimaginable fortune, the kind of man who lived in penthouses and traveled in private jets, while children like her went to bed hungry. And yet, here he was, stranded, with his precious car refusing to obey him. Gathering courage, she approached him timidly. Her voice trembled as she whispered the words that would change everything. I don't have money, but can I fix your engine?" The man turned sharply, his piercing eyes falling upon the frail little figure before him. At first he frowned, as though swatting away an annoyance. But then curiosity flickered in his gaze. He studied her, the tattered clothes, the dirt-streaked face, the thin arms, and something about her audacity made him pause. "You," he said, his tone dripping with disbelief, "you think you can repair this?" He gestured toward the sleek, expensive car, as though it were a sacred treasure. The girl swallowed hard, her tiny fists clenched at her sides. "My father was a mechanic. He taught me things. I can try. Please." Her voice cracked, but her eyes glistened with determination. For a moment, the CEO considered brushing her off, dismissing her like so many others had done. But there was something unusual about her. She wasn't begging for money or food. She wasn't asking for charity. She was asking for a chance, and that stirred something long buried within him. With a smirk, he stepped aside. "Fine. Show me what you've got." Her small hands trembled as she leaned over the car's hood. The machine was intimidating, but her father's teachings echoed in her mind. Step by step, she checked the basics, listening carefully, adjusting wires, tightening bolts. The CEO watched, amused at first, then gradually astonished as the child's hands moved with surprising precision. Minutes later, the engine roared back to life. The sound pierced the silence, strong and steady, and for a second it was as if the entire city paused to acknowledge the miracle. The girl stepped back, her face flushed, her chest heaving from the effort. She looked at him nervously, unsure of his reaction. The CEO stared at her, stunned. Slowly, his expression shifted from disbelief to reluctant admiration. "Impressive?" he muttered, almost to himself. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, but it vanished quickly. Hunger and fatigue reminded her of the world she would return to once this moment ended. She began to back away, muttering, "I should go." But his voice stopped her. "Wait." For perhaps the first time in years, the billionaire felt something unfamiliar. Humility. The billionaire CEO found himself staring at the little girl longer than he intended. There was something unsettling about her presence. She didn't belong in his world of polished shoes, designer suits, and private jets. And yet, she had just done what his hired mechanics often failed to do in minutes. "What's your name?" he asked at last, his voice unusually soft. She hesitated, her hands clasped together nervously. "Sophia." "Well, Sophia," he said, straightening his tie as if regaining control of the moment, "you've surprised me tonight. Not many people manage that." Her wide eyes blinked, uncertain if this was praise or mockery. She gave a shy nod and began to step back again. But he wasn't finished. "You fixed my car. What do you want in return?" The question lingered in the air like a promise she didn't know how to claim. Her stomach twisted with hunger, and her heart ached for her sick father. But pride held her back. She shook her head slowly. "Nothing. I just wanted to help." The billionaire narrowed his eyes. No one ever said that to him. Everyone wanted something. A deal, a favor, money, power. But this frail child had asked for nothing. "You're either lying," he said, his voice carrying a hint of amusement, "or you're the strangest little girl I've ever met." Her lips quivered, but she held her ground. "My father always said, if you can help someone, you do it, even if you don't have anything else to give." The words hit him harder than he expected. They echoed faintly against his own buried memories of a time before skyscrapers and boardrooms, when he too had known hunger and struggle. He quickly brushed the thought aside, unwilling to linger in the past. He waved his hand dismissively. "Fine, but you look like you could use a meal." Her cheeks flushed red. Pride and desperation battled within her, but the truth was undeniable. She hadn't eaten properly in days. She nodded timidly. Without another word, he gestured toward the car. "Get in." Her eyes widened. The thought of sitting inside such a vehicle was unthinkable, and yet he insisted. Trembling, she obeyed, sliding into the leather seat that smelled faintly of luxury she couldn't comprehend. They drove through the glittering streets, past towering buildings and brightly lit restaurants. Every sight pressed against her heart, reminding her of the vast distance between her world and his. Finally, they stopped at a quiet diner, tucked into a corner of the city. It wasn't one of his usual five-star spots, but something compelled him to choose simplicity. Inside, the warmth enveloped her, and the aroma of food nearly brought tears to her eyes. She ate cautiously at first, then ravenously, as though each bite might vanish if she delayed. He watched silently, his thoughts tangled in confusion. For years, his life had been about acquisitions, profits, and dominance. Yet here he was, sharing a booth with a child who had nothing, and feeling unsettled. When she finally looked up, her eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you." He cleared his throat, uncomfortable. "Don't mention it." But she did not stop there. Slowly she began to speak of her life, of her father's illness, of her mother's endless struggle, of nights spent hungry and days spent searching for hope in a city that never noticed her. Her words were simple, but each one cut through him like glass. He leaned back, expression unreadable. "Do you know who I am?" he asked suddenly. She nodded. "Everyone knows you. You're the man who owns everything." The way she said it, not with admiration, but with quiet resignation, unsettled him even more. "And what do you think of me?" Her small hands fidgeted with the edge of her worn dress. She hesitated before answering. "I think you must be very powerful, but maybe very lonely too." The sentence struck him harder than any boardroom betrayal. How could this little girl see so clearly through the walls he had built around himself? He tried to mask the impact with a smirk. "Lonely? I'm surrounded by people all the time." She tilted her head slightly. "People who want things from you. That's not the same." For the first time in years, he found no clever reply. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with the weight of truths unspoken, the kind that forced even the most powerful man to reflect. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "You're a strange girl, Sophia. Fixing engines, lecturing billionaires." He shook his head, almost amused. What am I supposed to do with you? She smiled faintly. You don't have to do anything. But deep inside, something had already shifted. They left the diner in silence. Outside, the city's brightness gave way to a harder truth. He unlocked the car, then paused. Where's home? A small place, she said, near the river. He drove, letting her directions guide him through streets that never made the brochures. When they stopped at a worn building, she folded her hands and glanced at him with a mix of pride and apology. My father's upstairs, she whispered. He used to fix engines like yours. Used to. He spoke up when a supervisor removed safety guards to hit quotas. After that, nobody would hire him. He knew the code. Speak, and you vanish. He'd signed off on policies like that, wrapped in charts and euphemisms. Can I meet him? He asked. She nodded. Inside, the apartment was clean and worn. A man with patient eyes stood at the table. Job applications stacked, as if order might make luck. The girl rushed to him. Papa, this is the man I told you about. The father looked up. Recognition steadied into caution. Sir, thank you for raising a brave mechanic, the CEO said. They spoke while the girl washed dishes, humming a tune that betrayed the child she still was. The story unfolded. A plant tied to his logistics network, safety complaints, an accident that could have been worse. The father had refused hush money. The whispers started, the calls stopped, the doors closed. Do you regret it? The CEO asked. No, the man replied. I regret the cost to her. He nodded toward his daughter, but not the truth. Driving back alone, the CEO felt the city's weight press against the windshield. At home, the view from his penthouse looked like victory. Tonight, it looked like distance. Morning brought meetings. He canceled them. Instead, he called an emergency session. We're changing course, he said. I want a safety and systems division. People who've challenged bad practices will contract with plants that commit to standards we certify. First came polite laughter, then resistance. Shareholders won't like it. Margins will tighten, he answered. We've been mistaking fear for discipline. We can lead, or we can hide. I'm done hiding. By noon, the rumors multiplied. A board member called, voice cool as marble. You're drifting. I'm deciding. Careful, or the board will decide for you. That evening, he went to the river. Under the overpass, he asked for an older mechanic named Luis, Sophia's mentor after school. Luis emerged with steady hands. He'd taught apprentices for decades before his shop disappeared. I need help, the CEO said. He explained the plan. Hire truth-tellers, certify safe systems, sell the service to companies tired of paying for injuries. Luis listened, then shrugged. Engines run on honest pressures, he said. So do people. Build a place where that's true. Monday's boardroom felt like a courtroom. Projections flashed, objections sharpened. A director slid a folder across the table. Succession options. He kept speaking. He talked about risk priced into injuries, recalls, attrition, the hidden tax of fear. He spoke finally about one girl who fixed an engine in a parking lot and reminded him what work is for. Principle won't pay dividends, someone snapped. Principle reduces preventable losses, he replied, and builds a brand money can't counterfeit. A vote followed. It wasn't unanimous. It was enough. He drove to the river district. The girl was outside, bouncing on a curb. He knelt to her height and offered an envelope to her father. Operations lead, systems and safety. The contract read, fair pay, real benefits, start date immediate. Another envelope held a part-time consultancy for Luis to train new hires. The father stared at the pages. Why me? Because you told the truth when it cost you, the CEO said. Help me build something where that's an asset. The girl threw her arms around them both, laughter spilling out like light in a power outage. For a moment, nobody spoke of margins. They planned schedules, bus routes, first tasks. Work, simple, decent, dignified, re-entered the room like a friend who had been missing too long. 6 months later, a converted warehouse thrummed with the clean music of learning, torque wrenches clicking, compressors sighing, instructors running lockout drills until muscle memory replaced luck. The new division had audited 12 facilities, corrected hazards that never made headlines, and signed contracts that covered its costs, and then some. Sophia bounded through the entrance after school, backpack traded for a small metal case with her name etched on the lid. She sat up at a side table, sketching a hybrid powertrain for the science fair, while her father reviewed a client's maintenance history with a junior tech. Louise strolled in with a thermos. The place felt less like an initiative and more like a promise kept. "Come see," Sophia said when the CEO stepped onto the floor. Her drawing showed airflow paths, battery banks, valve timing. "Engines need fuel, air, and spark," she said, beaming. "People do too. Fuel is stability. Air is respect. Spark is hope." He laughed softly. "Who taught you that?" "Everyone here." He looked across the floor at faces that once belonged to statistics. Not rescued, employed, not silenced, listened to. The work hadn't made him a saint. It had made him responsible. That night, walking to his car, he remembered the first night he'd met her, the question that began everything. "I don't have money. Can I fix your engine?" The engine, he realized, had never just been the car. It was the system. It was himself. He turned back, lights warm through warehouse windows, and felt the quiet ease of an answer earned. Tomorrow, they would certify another plant. Next month, they'd add a training track for interns from the technical high school. The problems were large, so were the tools. Pressure, heat, timing, the old rules applied. He started the car, listened to its steady hum and smiled, not at what he owned, at what they were building,